Hey builders, raiders, and book collectors! APKAFE here with a hot tech latte and the button most players forget exists, Disenchanting. You crafted a diamond chestplate, you rolled a shiny glow, and the table blessed you with projectile protection when you needed general protection. Or your sword caught knockback, and suddenly creepers are airmailed into your sugarcane field. In old saves, I grit my teeth and keep playing. Today, I erase, I refund, and I redo cleanly. This episode isn't just use a grindstone. It's when, why, and how to remove enchantments so your gear budget goes further. We'll talk about the grindstone's rules, the XP refund you get, how to avoid the too expensive tax by resetting items before you fuse, what to do about curses, and when you should repair and keep versus strip and rebuild. I'll drop a tiny practice lab in the code bank so you can rehearse the rhythm without touching your survival inventory. Things like /give@p grindstone 1 to stamp a workstation, /xp add@p 1200 points to test refunds, and a clean /fill to carve a test bed. All the full copy-ready strings sit in the description under their timestamps. Take a breath, put that cursed helmet on the table, and let's turn mistakes into momentum.
When we say remove enchantments, we're doing two separate things. First, we're scrubbing lines off an item, wiping sharpness, unbreaking, efficiency, thorns, whatever's on there. Second, we're deciding what to do with value, the XP you spent, the durability the tool has left, and the prior work baggage that makes anvils glare at you. A grindstone is your eraser. It clears all non-curse enchantments and hands back a slice of XP based on how potent those lines were. It doesn't destroy the item. It spits out the same tool, clean, ready to be re-enchanted or fused correctly. That's your main loop. Fix the mistake, keep the gear. There's a reason this matters mid-game. The most expensive part of enchanting isn't diamonds. It's the way time and Lapis bottleneck your rerolls. If a roll misses, scrubbing it, refunding a bite of XP, and trying again means your Lapis pile and your Anvil budget stretch twice as far. Once you feel that rhythm, roll, assess, wipe, reroll. You stop carrying gear you secretly hate.
Grindstones are brutally honest. Place your enchanted item in, take out a clean version, and a tiny bloom of XP pops into the air. The XP refund scales with enchant power. Higher levels give more back, junk lines give crumbs. It's not a full refund, and it shouldn't be. It's enough to keep the reroll loop smooth. The grindstone will not break your tool, it just erases the ink. On enchanted books, the behavior is similar but strict. Grinding removes non-curse enchants. If a curse is present, it sticks. You can't launder a cursive binding book into a blank book with vanilla means. On timing, the grindstone is instant and free. No fuel, no lapis, no emeralds. That's why I park one right next to my table and anvil.
The enchanting UI scares people with that big 30 on the right. Here's the truth. A level 30 enchant requires you to be level 30, but it costs 3 levels and 3 lapis, not 30 levels. That's the economy. Disenchanting gives you a bite of those levels back, and, more importantly, lets you try again without crafting a new piece. Early on, you'll feel Lapis bottleneck more than XP. Wiping a miss means your 3 Lapis from the bad roll produced a learning step, not a permanent mistake. And if you stock an XP bank, furnaces stuffed with smelted items you haven't claimed, one click after a wipe restores a chunk of bar for the next attempt. If you want to practice the refund and re-roll loop without leaving your base, the code bank has /xp add@p 1200 points as a refill pulse, and /give@p lapis_lazuli 64 to simulate a hunt. In survival, the lesson sticks fast. Don't live with thorns if you hate it. Erase, re-roll, and move on.
Not every imperfect item deserves a full reset. If your pick lands Efficiency 4 with Unbreaking 3 and no Silk Touch or Fortune, that's a great chassis. You add the specialty via book and anvil later.
The Grindstone isn't for fixing a missing specialty, it's for ejecting junk lines that undermine the item. Knock back on a PvE sword when you want to keep enemies close. Thorns on armor when you're prioritizing durability. Fire aspect on a looting sword in a blaze farm. Those are moments to wipe. There's also a clean trick before you hit the too expensive wall. If a tool's prior work penalty is getting heavy and you realized you layered lines in a clumsy order, you can grind the non-curse lines off, reset the item, and rebuild with a smarter merge tree. You'll lose those lines, yes, but you'll also dump the baggage that was going to brick the anvil on your next combine. It's a controlled rewind.
Let's talk about the purple elephants. Curses are designed as commitments. The Grindstone strips non-curse enchants and leaves curses in place, on items and on books. Binding stays, Vanishing stays. There isn't a vanilla button that purifies a cursed book into a blank book or scrubs a curse off armor. Your choices are practical. Don't use cursed loot for permanent gear, or recycle the base material by crafting a new piece that was never cursed. If the curse lives in a book, you file it in a gag gift chest, or you junk it. If you absolutely must wear a cursed drop short term, treat it like a rental. Use it until you craft the proper replacement. In Creative Labs, you can demonstrate the behavior with a helper stamp. /give @p enchanted book stored enchantments ID binding curse level 1 1, and then grind it to see the curse refuse to leave. I'll park that in the code bank so you don't waste survival resources to test a known rule.
3 stations, 3 philosophies. The Grindstone is your eraser. Fast, free, strips non-curse lines, returns a sip of XP, and leaves you the same item blank. The Anvil is your sculptor. It merges lines and raises prior work costs. It doesn't remove lines unless you swap to a lower tier version of the same enchant, which is rarely what you want. The crafting grid can repair 2 like items into 1, but it deletes all enchants and throws away potential. I rarely recommend that for enchanted gear. Save it for 2 junk iron swords you're about to toss. If you're about to pour books into a tool that already has 1 bad line, the Grindstone is the move. Strip the noise, then build right.
Let's run a real repair. You've got a diamond pick with efficiency 4 and knockback because you were sleepy and clicked the wrong thing. You grind it. Clean pick back, little XP refund in the bar. Next move, you don't slam random books onto the tool one by one. You build books first. Combine Mending and Unbreaking 3 into a single book off tool. If you want efficiency 5, stack that via books 2, or roll a clean V at the table and park it on a book. Pick Fortune or Silk Touch as a separate book. Now the tool sees 2 big merges, Sustain, then Specialty. The prior work penalty barely stirs, the Anvil bill stays polite, and the tool emerges perfect. Had you tried to layer 5 lines directly after the wipe, you'd be blinking at too expensive halfway through. If you want to rehearse that exact 2 merge rebuild without risking your real pick, I dropped a lab kit in the code bank. Give @p Anvil 1, give @p diamond underscore pickaxe 1 plus Mending, Unbreaking 3, Efficiency 4, Fortune 3 books, and an XP add @p 1500 points refill between steps. Armor brings out strong opinions, so here's mine framed by Disenchantment. Thorns looks spicy. It also burns durability every time it triggers. In the overworld, where your armor is your long-term friend, I treat Thorns as a minigame line. Fun on a museum set, not on my main kit. If I roll Thorns by accident, I grind it off and breathe easier. Family protection rules are similar. If your play is general adventuring, I want straight protection. If you're building a nether bastion farm, I'll craft a specialized set and accept blast protection. That's where the Grindstone shines. You can converge your sets instead of hauling 6 helmets.
On boots, feather falling is a non-negotiable. If it doesn't show, I'll table bait a book or shop a librarian, and not accept a temporary depth strider only roll. Wipe, re-roll, and keep the bar high. Your ankles will thank you.
Ranged kits force a simple decision. Infinity means arrow freedom. Mending means immortal bow. The two refuse to coexist. If you try both, the Anvil says no, and the Grindstone won't rescue the dream, because there's nothing to rescue. You pick a lane. I run Infinity on a bow that lives in my backpack for emergencies, and Mending on a crossbow for boss fights, where durability drain is real. When I roll a bow that lands in the wrong lane, I grind it, then start again. The rest of the lines, power, unbreaking, punch, flame, if allowed by your rules, slot in naturally. If you're testing compatibility mentally but want to see the UI confirm it, the code bank has a tiny pair. /give @p enchanted_book StoredEnchantments ID Infinity level 1 1 and ... Mending. Apply one, try to add the other, and watch the Anvil shrug. That 30-second check saves an hour of villager rerolling you didn't need.
Disenchanting shines brightest when you pair it with stored XP. A line of furnaces with kelp blocks or ores you haven't claimed is a piggyback. After a bad roll, you grind, you take the refund, you tap a furnace, and you're back at the requirement for a top bracket enchant immediately. That little triangle, wipe, withdraw, reroll, is what turns, I guess my chest plate is wrong, into, nah, we fix it now. If you'd like to practice that without building a full farm in creative, there's a simple pulse in the code bank. /XP add @P 1000 points. You can hit between wipes to rehearse how it feels to bounce back to level 30 requirements.
Good news! The Grindstone's headline behavior matches across Java and Bedrock for the things that matter to this video. It strips non-curse, it leaves curses, it refunds a small amount of XP, and it returns the clean item. Where you'll feel differences are in the broader ecosystem. The rate villagers restock, the availability of certain combat books, the way some edge cases of enchant waiting feel at the table. None of those change the core loop. If you dislike a line, wipe it. If you want a perfect build, book merge off tool and apply in 2 or 3 confident steps.
If you grind and the item still looks wrong, you probably tangled with a curse or misread a book. A cursed item will stay cursed. You can confirm by trying to apply a non-cursed book afterward. If the Anvil still shows the curse, you're looking at purple text doing its job. A book that contains only a curse will remain an enchanted book after grinding. It will not turn into a blank book. That's not a bug, that's the design. Park it and move on. If you wiped, then rebuilt, and the Anvil now says too expensive, the problem is merge order, not the Grindstone. Back up a step in your plan, combine books with books, then apply to the tool once or twice. If the tool already has heavy prior work baggage, the nuclear option is to craft a fresh base item, port the good lines via 2 big merges, and retire the overworked version. 1 extra diamond pick is cheaper than a bricked path. If you like training wheels, do a 5-minute lab before you touch your survival kit. Clear a bay with a macro, stamp a grindstone, table, and anvil, give yourself a sword and a pick with messy lines, and feel the wipe rebuild loop in your hands. I'll tuck everything into the code bank for copy-paste, /fill for the room, /give @P grindstone 1, /give @P anvil 1, a handful of enchanted books, and a couple /XP add pulses so you can rehearse without moving. You only need to do it once. After that, you'll never keep a roll you don't love.
And that's the power of saying no to bad lines. The Grindstone erased the junk, the XP bloom softened the sting, and the rebuild made your anvil posts behave. You learned how curses refuse to budge, had a plan to merge perfection with books, and when a good chassis deserves to keep its ink. Most importantly, you stepped out of, I guess I'm stuck with this, and into, I fix it right now. Every helper command I mentioned, the Grindstone stamp, The XP Pulses, the Cursed Book demo, sits in the code bank under their timestamps in the description. Copy what you need for a quick sandbox. Craft it for real in survival when you're ready. Weekly challenge. Post a 30-second clip of your clean wipe rebuild. Start with a messy tool, grind it, and show the two merge perfection. Tag #CleanSlate and @appkad.com. I'll pin the crispest loop next episode. If this saved you Lapis or spared you a too expensive heartbreak, drop a like. For more caffeinated blueprints, hit subscribe and ring the bell so YouTube actually tells you when the next fix lands. Comments are open. Paste your merge plan if it still feels pricey, and I'll help untangle it. I'm APKA. Better every tap.